Welcome to the deep dive. We're digging into the book Out of the Lab and on the market today.
That's right. It's all about how Sony Computer Science Lab, Sony CSL, actually gets its really advanced research out there.
Yeah, how those, blue sky ideas end up as actual products or services. It's something I think a lot of people wonder about, that journey from lab bench to something you might actually use.
And this book gives us two great perspectives. Tetsu Natsume, who ran the technology promotion office.
The TPO, right, the practical side.
Exactly, making the commercial links. And then Dr. Mario Tokoro, the founder, giving that bigger picture vision for the lab.
Okay, so let's dive in. One of the first big things, it seems, is just timing.
Oh, definitely.
Mhm.
Sony CSL aims for stuff that's maybe 5, even 10 years ahead.
So you immediately have this, gap, right, between the research discovery and when a business might actually need it.
Precisely. That's the timing gap. The market, the other tech needed, consumer readiness, it often just isn't there yet when the idea first pops up.
So how do they bridge that? The book mentions technology promotion.
Yeah, think of it like a dedicated sales team, but for research. Their job is to actively find the right time and place for these early technologies.
Okay, give us an example. The book talks about augmented reality, AR.
Right. A.R. Junrekamoto was working on this way back in the late 1990s. Really groundbreaking stuff.
They even put a version, cybercode, on a VAIO laptop.
They did, yeah. The VAIO C1, it got attention, but, well, commercially, it was a bit of a non-starter then.
So for anyone trying to launch something new, the insight is timing is everything, even for great ideas.
Absolutely. It can be premature. With AR, it took, what, 13 years? Until 2007?
For the PlayStation 3 game, The Eye of Judgment.
Exactly. And the fascinating part is Rekamoto probably didn't imagine that specific application, a card game using the console camera.
So the market evolves, other tech comes along, and suddenly an old idea finds its moment.
That's often how it happens. And the researchers themselves, they've likely moved on to the next big thing.
Which is where this technology promotion office, the TPO, becomes so crucial, right? You need someone looking back, revisiting older stuff.
You absolutely do. The TPO was set up back in August 2004, specifically for that, to be that internal research sales force.
And initially, their mission was just within Sony itself.
Yeah, optimizing technology transfer within SOI and maximizing their impact. The first focus was getting CSL research into Sony's own products and services.
And they had a structured plan. 3 points.
First, take stock, really inventory all the research. Second, target specific Sony business lines where it might fit. And third, maximize that commercial potential.
It sounds like they weren't just waiting for lightning to strike. They were actively trying to make connections.
Very actively. Let's look at how they did it. Cataloging the research was key.
Not just listing papers, I assume.
No. They had an annual review talk from researchers, sure. But the TPO also did these deep dive interviews, really digging into the potential uses, beyond just the science, thinking commercially. This fed into their technology on promotion list, the top E list, always being updated.
And trying to find those hidden gems, stuff that might not seem world-changing at first glance.
Exactly. Something seemingly minor might be just what a product team is struggling with. You never know.
Okay, so they know what tech they have. Then what? How do they sell it internally?
They develop sales collateral, but not dense reports. Think. One slide per technology.
A sales sheet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Super concise. Quick summary, key features, maybe a visual or a demo link, and a technology tag.
Like a mini FAQ on the slide. Status, researcher, year.
Pretty much. Just the essentials for a business person to get the gist quickly.
Makes sense. And then the actual selling.
That involved demo roadshows, fast-paced, lots of videos, prototypes, really focus on what does this do.
And the TPO could run these themselves, without the researcher always present.
Often, yes. That frees up the researchers. The TPO acts as that knowledgeable bridge. They build relationships.
They even had a newsletter, right? But only for people who came to the demos.
That's right, T-Pop News. Kept the conversation going with interested parties. It's all about building those connections and keeping the tech front of mind.
Okay, so the process sounds solid, but did it always work smoothly? The book mentions the VAIO Pocket, a painful learning experience.
Ah, yes. The VAIO Pocket music player. It used CSL's Presence tech for its touch interface, G-Sense, they call it.
Like an early precursor to modern touchscreen.
Sort of, yeah. Really innovative. But the painful part, CSL got zero credit.
How did that happen?
The tech got passed around internally, different groups worked on it, and somewhere along the line, its CSL origin just lost,
Yeah.
forgotten.
Ouch. So the lesson was?
Document everything.
Yeah.
Make sure credit is explicitly agreed upon and tracked. It was a hard lesson, but it meant they were much more careful later, like with the eye of judgment, ensuring CSL and the researchers were properly acknowledged.
Right. Then there's feel. That sounds like a big one. Landmark idea.
Feel was about making wireless connections easy. Think tapping devices together. Joan Rakamoto's lab around 2000.
Like NFC, basically, a near-field communication.
Very similar core idea, yeah. Use a super short-range link to establish intent, then maybe boost it to Wi-Fi or something faster. It actually built on an earlier patent by Dr. Tokoro himself.
But getting it adopted was tough, even within Sony.
Surprisingly slow, yeah. But then it kind of found a home within the broader NFC standard, which Sony's Fleeca division was pushing.
Okay, so it became part of an industry standard rather than just a Sony thing.
More or less. But then things got complicated again. Another standard, Cross-U, popped up from NTT Docomo in Japan using the feel concept.
Wait, so CSL invents feel, it influences the NFC standard that Sony is involved in, and then another company uses the idea under a different name.
Kinda, yeah. And initially, CSL wasn't properly credited for the Cross-U implementation. There was an internal agreement, the MOTR Memorandum on Technology Release, meant to ensure CSL got credit, but
it got overlooked.
It seems so. Maybe someone pushing the deal wasn't aware of the full history. But the TPO didn't give up.
They pushed back.
They did. Through persistence and clear communication, they eventually got the protocol rebranded as One Touch, and CSL's contribution was acknowledged.
How long did that whole process take? From research to product?
About 12 years. It really shows you the long timelines and the sheer persistence needed sometimes.
Wow. Okay, another interesting one. EDS, the Extractor Discovery System, started in music, ended up everywhere.
That's a fascinating one from CSL Paris. Developed for analyzing music structure, but the underlying tech for finding patterns in complex data. It turned out to be useful for image analysis, vibration analysis in machinery, even quality control in manufacturing plants.
From music to factory, quality control. Seriously.
Seriously. It shows you just can't predict where research might lead. And the TPO's role in after-sales service, following up, seeing how tech is used, finding new uses was key there.
It makes you think, doesn't it? What else is out there waiting for an unexpected application?
Absolutely. Then there's Mocaden. Collaboration outside Sony with Daiwa House.
Networked home appliances, but the hurdle wasn't technical, it was taste.
Pretty much. The idea involved giving appliances these cute anime-style Mo personas. Some people inside Sony just didn't like the aesthetic, felt it wasn't the Sony image.
Not a technical problem, just subjective resistance.
Exactly. Took a lot of internal wrangling, but the project with Daiwa House went ahead and was successful. It showed the value of sometimes looking beyond your own industry for partners.
And 12 pixels. Pixel art on old feature phones.
Yeah. Ivan Puprev and Carl Willis. This was before smartphones really took over in Japan. They released it as a public beta.
And people just ran with it.
Totally. User-generated content exploded. It was simple, fun, and really clicked. Even though there were other drawing apps, 12 pixels hit a nerve. It had a pre-installed on a global phone model.
And the researcher even got an academic paper out of it.
He did. Shows that commercialization and academic work aren't always separate paths. Engaging users early was the key there.
Okay, let's shift gears a bit. Beyond direct product stuff, econophysics in semiconductor manufacturing.
This is a really cool one. Hideki Takeyasu was using physics models to analyze financial data econophysics.
Right. Big, messy data sets.
Exactly. And he realized, hey, semiconductor manufacturing generates huge, messy data sets too. Maybe these techniques could help improve production yields.
Was that an easy sell internally?
Not entirely. There was some skepticism, even within CSL management, applying financial market analysis to chip making. It sounds a bit out there.
But it worked.
It really worked. Led to significant, measurable improvements in yield at Sony's Semiconductor Business Group. Real bottom-line impact. And the project kept delivering value for years.
That's incredible. Cross-disciplinary thinking paying off big time.
Definitely. Then you have Ken Mogi's, experience research.
The psychology of insight. How did that become commercial?
Public interest was high in Japan. It led to a collaboration with Sega, of all companies, for a PSP game.
A video game based on the aha moment.
Yeah. Again, some initial hesitation about working with an external partner, but it took off. It spawned museum exhibits, mobile games, licensing deals, A whole ecosystem.
Generating real revenue.
Absolutely. An 8-digit dollar value ecosystem, the book says.
Yeah.
Shows you really need to be open to unconventional paths for commercialization.
And sometimes the tech just doesn't fit anywhere inside the main company, right? Like, who's it?
Right. Sony CSL's first spin-off company, based on place engine technology.
Location sensing using Wi-Fi signal.
Crowdsource Wi-Fi data to figure out where a device is, especially indoors where GPS struggles. There wasn't an obvious home for it within Sony's existing structure.
So they spun it out. Was that easy?
Required some effort to get internal approval, naturally. But Kuzit was formed, developed services, like the Tahakunavi Guide for the Tokyo National Museum.
Showing the tech worked in the real world. So CSL also acts as a sort of incubator.
In a way, yes. Fostering entrepreneurship when necessary.
And finally, there's this really long-term ambitious stuff like the Open Energy Systems project.
OES, yeah. Looking towards a whole new electrical grid. Thinking about packetized electric power.
Like data packets, but for electricity?
That's the inspiration. Smaller, manageable units, potentially better for integrating renewables, managing demand. It's a big collaboration.
With universities and other Sony divisions?
Yep, OIST in Okinawa, Sony Energy Device. They've done real-world tests, too. Powering World Cup viewings in Ghana, mobile charging stations in areas without grids.
So testing the concepts in challenging environments.
And they formed a consortium in Okinawa, pushing this idea of an internet of electricity. It shows CSL isn't just about near-term products. It's tackling huge, long-range challenges.
Looking across all these different stories, what are the big takeaways, the core principles of making this work?
Well, a few things stand out. Keep the message simple for potential customers. You got to drill it in sometimes.
Right. Don't assume they'll instantly get the complex science.
And the promoters, the TPO folks, they need to be proactive. Not just promoting, but almost producing the commercialization, pushing it forward.
And being part of the lab seems crucial, that close connection.
Absolutely vital for understanding, for collaboration, and interestingly, the act of trying to sell the research, it actually changes the research itself.
How so?
Makes it more grounded, maybe more user-focused, because you're constantly thinking about potential applications and real-world constraints.
And they even talk about taking this model beyond Sony. Borderless technology promotion.
Yeah, a hint that maybe their methods could help other researchers bridge that gap between lab and market, which is, a universal challenge.
So wrapping this up, the key message for our listeners seems to be that innovation isn't just the discovery.
Not at all. It's the discovery plus this persistent, dedicated, often creative effort to find its place in the world. The TPO's work is central to Sony CSL's success.
Navigating the timing, the market shifts, the unexpected applications.
All of it. It really highlights that the eureka moment is just the start. The follow-through, the promotion, the connection-making that's equally vital.
Which leaves us with a final thought, maybe. Where in your own world, your own field, is there hidden potential? Knowledge or tech that exists, but maybe its time hasn't come, or its obvious application isn't the right one.
Yeah, what timing gaps or setting divergences using something in a totally new context might be waiting to be exploited? Could a dedicated promotion effort unlock that value?
Something to chew on. These stories from Sony CSL definitely show what's possible when you connect research with opportunity. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive.